1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast. I am your host, Michael Ford. Flying a little solo this week, no Kia. I guess she was partying too hard from the election. As she mentioned last week, she was running, and now she's president elect. So she's got big plans for running a free world. So hopefully we'll hear about her plans for world domination next week. But I'm not 100% solo. I am joined by our friend Martine from the Latinx delegation. Martine, what's up?
How's it going, everyone?
Man, a few words as always.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, I don't know what to say. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just a lot of. It's crazy it's finally over.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not over
the
though.
election part,
I mean, yes, we now have a president elect,
Yeah,
and who knows what will happen in the next 73 days
yeah,
before that president takes office.
yeah.
But
Just yeah,
props to everyone who made their voices known politically. Who voted. Extra props to the people who voted for the right side of things. Hopefully, if you're a fan of this podcast, you're a fan of democracy. So that shouldn't be too many people that are fans of fascism that are listening to the show right now. I'm willing to be like fuck fascism, just for on general principle. But let's jump into the world of the racial draft, shall we? Um, we're going to be a little bit looser format wise, I suppose, because we don't have Kia to take us off track, which is often putting us on track.
mm-hmm,
Let's start off with some of the nerd news.
yeah,
Um, a lot of the nerd news this week was light because of everything happening with the election, but there are a few things in the world of rumors. Actually, I'll jump in. I'll jump into something that's more confirmed than rumors, and that's the casting of Isa Penarejo. Did I get that right?
mm-hmm,
Isa
yeah.
Penarejo playing Jade in the Stargirl. Now Jade is not a. I mean, you're a Green Lantern
Yeah.
person. What's Jade's relationship to the Green Lanterns and Green Lantern lore?
So she's the daughter of the Golden Age Green Lantern, Alan Scott.
Okay,
And so, because of his exposure to the Star Heart, which is what gave him his power,
okay,
like she was born with powers, so she already kind of had, she can already do the things that Green Lanterns can naturally do, like the
interesting.
construct stuff like that.
All right,
Um, but like there was a time when she lost her powers, and Kyle Rayner gave her a ring, so she was actually a member of the Green Lantern Corps.
got it.
She was like by publication history standards, the first like human female Green Lantern.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. And this was after the Golden Age, right? This
this was
was
after the Golden Age. This was during like the whole, because this was when she and Kyle were a thing. So that's like the early 2000s.
Gotcha. Gotcha. One thing that I'd like to ask, I mean, I know this actress is Filipino American.
Yeah.
Points for the racial draft in that respect
Hmm.
for I guess I suppose the Asian delegation.
Yeah.
And but in the comics, is she?
She's white.
Well, right, she's white because Alan Scott, I suppose, is white.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether she might have been multiracial.
No, she's white, but like she's like her skin color is different. Because of the exposure to Starheart. So it's like she's like more like green-ish.
Oh, that's
So she
interesting.
sometimes it's like green. Sometimes she's like a normal quote unquote skin tone,
Hmm.
like
Now,
human skin tone.
are you watching Stargirl?
I have watched Stargirl. I've seen all of season 1 on
Okay.
DC Universe.
Right. So, I mean, I was wondering whether your sense of things would be that whether you would guess that she'd have the hue, the green hue, or not.
Probably not. No, I don't think they're gonna give her the green hue.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, again, you know, uh, in our since we celebrate race bending here at the racial draft,
Mm.
yet another race bend
Yep.
for so she's Jade,
Yeah.
um, and her is that her birth name, Jade?
No, her birth name is her actual name is Jennifer Lynn Hayden.
Okay.
Yeah, but she goes by Jade.
Gotcha. Well, so it's going to be interesting to see. They Stargirl doesn't have the biggest of budgets, so
Yeah.
what will she be doing in terms of Green Lantern esque constructs? Will it be a
Probably
lot
not a
of
lot.
just will it be no constructs and just energy beams?
That's a very likely scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe some
And
force
maybe
fields.
very limited. Yeah, very limited constructs, force fields, or things that won't interact with anything.
Right. I,
Yeah.
I imagine that it'll be a lot of that. I agree. But hey, Stargirl keeps fleshing out that
Hmm.
Earth Two universe.
Yeah.
When is that supposed to be coming back? I'm not even sure. Uh, doesn't say. So I suppose sometime in early 2021. So stay tuned. We'll
Yeah.
keep you posted on the show, and who knows whether some of the characters from Earth Two will make their way into the racial draft in season 2.
Yeah, they could.
So the other things that we have fall, I guess, a
Hmm.
little more in the realm of rumors
Yeah.
from our buddies over at Murphy's Multiverse. Shout out to Charles Murphy. He's got some, I suppose, confirmation of rumors. It's still rumors, but more believable rumors. For a while back, there was a while back Marvel. Typically, what they'll do is they'll file, I believe, trademarks
Yeah.
on their production studios, and their production studios will typically be code named, so you won't know exactly what project is what. And there was one project that a lot of people were speculating were the Fantastic Four because it was Solve Everything Productions. And those of you who are big fans of Hickman's Fantastic Four run know that Solve Everything was a big part of one of his taglines when he was running that comic. So Solve Everything Productions was confirmed by Charles's sources to be a Fantastic Four production, potentially somewhere in 2023. Um, would be when you might expect to see the project, which means sometime in the next year or so they could be starting development. So that's very interesting, given
Mhm.
uh, you know how I would say a lot of us have strong thoughts about what what the Fantastic Four and the MCU would look like. I go back and forth myself in terms of different camps of
Mhm.
whether I'd rather have them be younger, a la the Ultimate Universe,
Mhm.
or older, a la the the mainstream the mainstream Marvel universe.
Mhm.
Particularly because one thing that makes the Marvel universe, the MCU rather, different from the Marvel comic book universe, is that we've already kind of a lot lined up our continuity, and it's very difficult to fill in the blanks as to things that would have happened before, let's say, Captain America.
Yeah.
I know that they're going to be doing something with the Eternals and filling in, thousands and thousands of years of Marvel continuity, but you can only go to that well of retcons, but so many times before it kind of starts to fall apart. We're
Mhm.
also joined by the official artist of the Racial Draft podcast, Eli. Eli, say what's up to the people. Uh-oh,
Oh.
we can't hear him. Let's try that again.
How about now?
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear you. Nice.
All
And
right, good.
if For the Patreon supporters, if you'd like to donate some money to Patreon, you can get to see Eli. I've been told it's worth the money.
That is a selling point. All right, so uh, I hope everyone is having an awesome week, post-election week, and all that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. I think it's been a pretty good start to the month so far.
Right. So we were just we were talking about the Fantastic Four
Hmm.
in the MCU, and there are a couple of different camps as far as what they'd like to see out of the Fantastic Four in the MCU. I'm torn in whether I'd prefer to see kind of a younger version of the Fantastic Four, similar to what was in the Ultimate Universe, or
Hmm.
one of the like more classic incarnations where they're kind of adults. Do you fall into one of the two camps?
Hmm. Yeah, I think probably if they approached it adults is probably the way to go, because I think that's kind of a part of what makes the Fantastic Four the Fantastic Four. There's like very clear age differences between, let's say Sue and Johnny. He's like a teenager, so he acts very teenager like, and she's more mature. So I think the age difference would be good. The Fantastic Four is an interesting team because I feel like they haven't really, maybe the cartoon like was the best they've been done on screen, but like I feel like, you know, for some reason it's one of the they're kind of like the Superman of Marvel. The companies haven't quite figured out how to get them right.
I
Like,
mean, well, here's the thing: Superman, they actually were able to get it right at least once.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
like the Fantastic, I think one of the things that makes me nervous about trying to do a Fantastic Four project that's based around the older characters is that they're
Mm,
very golden age. They're very sort of 1960s,
yeah, yeah.
and a lot of the time when people talk about trying to imagine the Fantastic Four, they want to impose those 1960s sensibilities on the team. And
Mm.
here we are in the 2020s. Like, we need to figure out a way to make them relevant to today. We
That's
can't
part of
just
the challenge too,
yeah,
right?
like we can't fall back on the whole like, oh, they're from a different time and they
Yeah.
and the ways of the current world are unfamiliar to them. I
Mm,
think we've done a lot of fish out of water storylines, and I think that one of the things that holds like, in the comic books, the Fantastic Four has the benefit of being the quote unquote first family. Like, they have the benefit of being the first, on the scene, the elder statesmen, the ones that everyone looks to, out of respect. But we're not going to be able to replicate that in the MCU. We're not going to be
true.
able to establish them the first as the first family. They're going to, at best, they'll be the second family. You know, um,
Yeah,
like the Avengers is the sort of the alpha brand in the MCU. So to me, one of the arguments for making them younger, not all young like teenagers, but
mm,
younger, is that they would have grown up in the world where there were Avengers. And now that the Avengers, especially Tony Stark, are gone, that offers them an opportunity to step into the void and become the first family, the next generation of
true,
superheroes.
true. So,
Particularly if we don't know what they're going to do with the Avengers, who's going to be that team, who's going to lead it. Especially now with everything, with uncertainty around Wakanda and around Black Panther. you know
true.
there's a little bit of a leadership void, and I think that uh, if you have, maybe they're in their 20s, like grad school age
I was
Fantastic,
just about to
yeah,
ask, yeah, like
like
what's the
grad school
progression?
age
Like,
Fantastic Four,
yeah,
where
yeah.
basically Reed Richards is the new genius on the scene, the smart,
Mm,
as opposed to being a peer of Stark's,
right,
that's
right.
kind of off the table anyway. So he would be the kind of heir apparent. And to the extent that there would be a rivalry, because I think that a lot of people, when they think about the Fantastic Four, they think about Doctor Doom.
Yeah,
Eventually, I'd like to see if they're going to have a Fantastic Four, if for them to introduce Doom, but I wouldn't want to have that happen immediately in their first movie. I would almost prefer Doctor Doom be built up over here while Fantastic Four is being built up over there, and then they find a way to bring the two together, you know.
Gotcha.
But to the extent that Tony Stark was the alpha mind of the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Reed
Mhm.
Richards could be the next alpha mind of that universe.
True.
And and the Fantastic Four is basically one thing that they have is that they're not really superheroes. I mean, they are, but they're almost adventurers, celebrities.
Right, right.
And I was thinking that one way to make them relevant to today would be for them to be celebrity superheroes. Like fully embrace the idea of, our lives are an open book. Like we don't have, there's no secret identity, superhero identity. Like
Mhm.
we're the Fantastic Four all the time.
Right,
So to
right.
that end, someone like Johnny Storm would be on, social media, like Instagram or whatever, TikTok. I
Sure.
mean, like they'd be in the public eye, and maybe that would be something that Reed was a little bit more of an introvert, and he wouldn't necessarily want to be into that. But Sue would be more of the leader in that respect, in understanding the benefits of the transparency. One of the differences, given what we had in the MCU with the Sokovia Accords, was this
Mhm.
idea of people wanting to rein in superheroes and control them, but making them fully transparent and having the whole world see how they operate their business, how they handle their business, might be a different way of kind of circumventing the Sokovia Accords.
Got you. I mean,
And
that makes
having,
sense.
so I mean, that's why I lean towards them being slightly younger, because it would offer an opportunity for modern audiences to
Yep.
to find a grounding on them. Now, the downside, of course, is that people who are fans of the comic want to see their kids, and
Yeah,
you're not gonna get their kids if
you
they
can. It's just way later, right?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not gonna get their kids right out the gate. And I think that, especially, this is a weird thing. Like I don't know how you feel about this, Martine. Like a lot of people make the parallel between the Fantastic Four and the Incredibles,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and and I do see the parallel, but
Yeah.
I see it more as the Fantastic Four begat the Incredibles.
Yeah.
The
I mean, that was
Fantastic
the idea.
Four like became a family, you
Mhm.
know, and then they had their kids that were part of this superheroic family. And people, when they think of the Incredibles now, they think, oh, why can't the Fantastic Four be like the Incredibles? But I
Mhm.
think that it almost puts the cart before the horse,
Mhm.
because the Incredibles, they sold you on the idea that people love them. Um, in the MCU, they're gonna have to make people love them. They're going to have to establish them. And once they're established, then introduce their children. So maybe you can hold on. I mean, I think you could get away if you had them exist for 10 years. Um, like 10 to 12 years. We meet them fairly early, maybe, in a post-credit scene. Maybe in a post-credit scene of the first movie, Sue finds out she's pregnant, and you do that, one of those like shock faces, like, what are we gonna you like every guy when he finds out
Yeah.
his girl is
Yeah.
pregnant. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
that can tease people for what's to come, and theoretically they could do they could start the second movie, if they do it, when they do the sequel, they could start the second movie with Franklin being born, you know and then they can go, they could, first movie is meeting the Fantastic Four, steeping them in our world, getting us familiar with, where they stand and how we would like them. And then the second movie is getting us a little bit closer to what people want to see, which is, they could even joke and be like, Reed, why are you starting to go gray so early? he gets the little,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, but I'm thinking like, early 20s, early to mid 20s, Fantastic Four might be a good way to sort of situate them in the like just a little bit older than Peter Parker, but
Hmm.
but the age where Johnny Storm and Peter Parker would be peers.
Mhm.
So how old is like Peter in the actual MCU then? Because he's
So
like
he's, I believe by now he should be a senior in
he's
high
like
school.
16, 17.
No, no, he should be about 18 now because he was 17, I think, in the last movie. So I'm
Gotcha.
thinking that I'm thinking that even if they pick up the next movie, a little bit, a couple weeks or months after the events, they'll probably want to take him up to 18
Hmm.
by the end of the movie, and then kind of get him ready for college.
That
Um,
makes sense.
so what I'd be thinking would be that, you know, if Peter's 18, maybe Johnny Storm's like 19, you know, and then the other ones could be, you know, 22, 24 in that age range.
Got you. Well, I mean, that makes sense. One thing about the Fantastic Four is like, I don't know, it's kind of tough. Like, what stories can you tell? You know what I'm saying? Like, Doctor Doom is one thing, but should they jump right into Doom? Because he's like kind of
No,
the
I,
current
I
fantastic.
definitely, my problem. One of the things that I have found to be problematic about all the Fantastic Four movies is that they never give them room to breathe on their own without tying them to Doom.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It's like he's like kind of like the biggest villain. It's kind of like jumping just from like,
yeah, it's like jumping right to Thanos. You know, like you,
exactly. Like they didn't get we didn't get to see any of the other characters before that, and like that's kind of like you just fought the main villain before we see any of the progression.
right.
So how do we like what is a good way to kind of segue into that without just jumping into Doom, but making it interesting? Because he's
Well,
like their best villain.
that's why what I would want is the story of how they interact with the rest of how they fit it in the rest of the universe. You know, they're the new heroes on the scene, but they're doing it a little bit differently because of how transparent they are. So they're just kind of getting into misadventures. You know, you could probably have them fight people like a mole man, like I don't think they need a big bad per se in the first
Right.
movie. It could be a lot of just them, we're meeting them, they're dealing with the conflict. There are villains in their rogues gallery, none that sort of jump immediately, to like they can go to space, they can go to the negative zone and take on, or I agree that some of the big guns, people like Galactus and people like
Yeah.
Doom, are ones that are traditionally associated with the Fantastic Four. But I think you could find a way to kind of line up a few of their lesser villains
Yeah.
and just have them kind of knock down their lesser villains, but have a big part of the story just be, them cameoing and them kind of interacting with the other uh, characters in the Marvel universe and setting up their little corner of the world. Um,
And
and
then you kind of have to ground them, I guess. Kind of have to decide on are they like space heroes in the MC or are they like Earth heroes? Because you're saying kind of like a Tony Stark kind of rivalry. So he was more of an Earth hero.
yeah,
So like, where do you think the Fantastic Four kind of fill that spot? Because Captain Marvel kind of does that too.
right. I mean, I would think about them. Did you ever watch or do you watch Doctor Who?
No, everyone says I should though.
Doctor Who's. Do you watch Doctor Who, Martine?
I've only seen a few episodes, but that was years ago.
Okay. I mean, Doctor Who is interesting in that, it has its ups and downs. I think it has more ups than downs, so it's probably worth it. But they have this thing called the TARDIS, and they
Mhm.
sort of travel all over the place. They travel to different times. They travel to different places, different planets. They're just getting into adventures. The Doctor and whoever happens to be with him. I think that if there were a Fantastic Four Disney Plus series, they could basically go to different adventures, different every week or every episode.
Mhm.
I could imagine a movie that would be set up similarly, where you're seeing different adventures, and then it kind of pulls together at the end. like where you didn't think that they were connected, but then you find out that they're connected. You
Right,
know,
right.
one thing that we do have on our side is that we already have this Kang idea. We
Hmm.
know that Kang is probably going to debut in the Ant-Man movie, but who's to say when you're talking about a time traveler that they couldn't find a way to have, something that ties to Kang happen in all these different adventures that they go to in these different times.
Good point. One thing about that is he actually brought that up. Like, they might a Disney Plus series. Do you think that makes more sense than a movie? Because like, there's a lot of when you're dealing with like time travel, space travel, like those can actually be pretty long. So like,
Mhm.
actually, that might work better as a series than even just a movie. Because they've tried movies, but I don't think maybe live action is the way to go.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe Disney Plus is the way to go. Maybe that's the best way to introduce people to the Fantastic Four. Because one of my theories, and I know it's controversial, is that I think people like the Fantastic Four as an entity in the universe more than they like them as their own entity.
Hmm.
Like they like
Yeah,
seeing the Fantastic Four interact with other characters.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
They're kind of like they're almost like hmm, how do you exactly say it? But like they kind of like a vehicle for all these other stories
Yeah.
and pathways and crossovers to happen.
Yeah, I feel like they're like a side dish.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they're not the main course, but they're the side dish that you can put with a whole bunch of different main courses.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
Disney
know?
Plus series, actually, I would watch that. I would like actually watch that. Like that would be kind of dope if they did that as opposed to doing a movie. And it's interesting. Like a movie should work. I just don't know how they can make it work without just kind of relying on the things they already tried. You know?
Yeah. Well, the advantage of a Disney Plus series is that you can do different adventures and none have to be one big huge adventure because like you were saying like who would they fight in a movie,
Yeah.
whereas if they fight a different villain each week,
Yep.
none of the villains have to be Doom level,
Yeah,
or
but at the same time,
Galactus
they can
level.
have Doom like running through the plot, so they don't have to fight him on the first shot. But
Yeah,
they can introduce him and then have him kind of stretch out through the season. So
right.
they
I
can
mean,
still actually have Doom.
I still like Doom as a universe level antagonist more so
Mm.
than just a Fantastic Four antagonist. But I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind it.
right.
I wouldn't mind it if Doom was in the background. If you were seeing random things about Doom in the background without them actually interacting with him.
Yep, yep. I think that's like dope, and like because I could even open the door to like I guess I think they already have Secret Wars planned for the MCU.
I don't. I mean, I think people have been talking about Secret Wars,
Yeah,
especially because of the whole multiverse of madness thing with Doctor Strange. Um, I think it's still a little bit early because we haven't even gotten the X-Men.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I'd rather get the X-Men in the universe than do because Secret Wars feels like the biggest storyline you can do.
It does. But that's why it would be like perfect also for Disney Plus because you could make it kind of a long event and like you could have Doom like once they build him up to a certain level, he could be like the king and everything and like you can that can go a lot of ways. So I
Yeah.
think that would be series might be the way to go actually for
Yeah, so I
Fantastic.
mean, I think we've solved it. I think we just have to stop thinking about a Fantastic Four movie and start thinking about a Fantastic Four Disney Plus series. Especially because who knows with the pandemic whether there'll be much of a difference
Uh,
between movies and TV shows anyway.
movies might not be the move anymore.
Right? It's like, I mean, think about it. Like in a movie, unless, well, I mean, if people are still willing to pay money like what they did with Mulan, for one movie, then it's
Yeah.
still valuable. But if they find that they'd rather just have people add subscribers, keep adding subscribers to Disney Plus, and try to build it up that way, then comparably, it's a comparable value proposition.
Yep. And I think it was Netflix maybe that said that they were just going to focus more on just doing more shows even than like, movies or anything
Mhm.
like original movies. Like just doing that is like, probably the way to go financially for all of the
Well,
companies.
well, for Netflix in particular, it makes sense because Netflix at this point is almost like a utility. You know,
Mm.
like they raised their price to $15, and people just said, "Oh well, I mean, guess I'm still paying." You know, like it's that like at this point, hundreds of millions of people are paying Netflix every month, and they just have to make sure that every month a few more people keep subscribe.
Yeah,
That's their
it
that's their
replaced the
model.
cable box pretty much. It just
Yeah.
replaced the cable. So people just need to have it in their
hmm
homes at this point, which makes
And
sense.
and right, and a season of a show, that's 10 to 12 hours versus a movie which is 2 hours. So unless you're going to watch it 6 times, you
And
know,
Disney needs to compete, so
yeah.
they might have to look into that Fantastic Four show.
Yeah, there's a listen. They the people have been saying for years, and I've been agreeing with them that comic books work better as series anyway, as long as you put money into it.
Yep.
Have you been watching The Mandalorian?
Yes.
So
I need to watch
like,
last week's episode, but
oh,
like
okay,
I
so
saw them
no
all.
spoilers. But like, I mean, I've watched it. But what I'm saying is that you can tell that they're putting money behind those shows. You
Yeah.
know, if if you put that kind of money into comic book shows, you've just got people. Like you can, whenever they flip the switch on the MCU Disney Plus shows, we're gonna be like addicts.
Yep.
We're
Star Girl. That
you
was
know,
one show that got it right.
yeah.
Star Girl.
Oh, we were just talking about Stargirl before you jumped on,
Yeah.
and the casting for season two.
Did
But
they release the cast already?
not everyone in the cast, but there's a character named Jade who
Hmm.
was recently cast. She's supposed to be Alan Scott's daughter.
Nice, nice, nice.
So she's got some. It's going to be interesting to see how they render Green Lantern-ish powers with that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of
Yeah.
concerned because they said they were going to put it on CW and everything.
They did say that, and that as what we know about CW is that most of their shows are done on the cheap in Vancouver. This
Yeah.
isn't. So, but I think it's still going on. I think it's still going on HBO Max as well.
Well, that's a little more hope.
Yeah.
That
So
makes me more hopeful.
because it started out as a DC Universe show,
Yeah, yeah,
the budgets, you could see that there was money put behind it, and I
yeah,
think at this point they would lose a lot of fans if they all of a sudden scaled back.
yeah. I actually feel like that's the one that DC has yet to match themselves, but also that Marvel probably has to match that level of quality with their like shows once they really take those off. So I'm kind of curious to see what the production quality is going to look like on like all the superhero shows on Disney Plus because
Yeah.
they'll have like a pretty high bar to beat, I think.
Well, they've said that they expect to have their series have comparable budgets to their movies.
Yeah, I know.
So
It'll be
200
daunting.
million $200 million for six to eight episodes. That's great. Speaking of
That's
something that I'd like to see as a Disney Plus show, but could also be a movie, Young Avengers. There's another rumor for Murphy's Multiverse that they're working on getting the production company set up for Young Avengers, and as a lot of people have been connecting dots as far as the upcoming Disney Plus shows. There's been rumors of America Chavez in Multiverse of Madness. There are rumors of Kid Loki in the Loki series. There are rumors. Well, the Hawkeye series is obviously going to have Kate Bishop in it. There
yep,
are rumors of Wiccan and Speed in the WandaVision. So you could definitely see them kind of building up a little Avengers type team of kids
yep,
and again, that could also be a Disney Plus show.
for sure. I don't think Kid Loki would be like considered rumor at this point. Like if you're gonna do a series, you gotta have him in there. It's like mandatory at that point. But a Young Avengers show would be super dope because I've read like more of the I guess the event stuff like Children's Crusade and stuff
hmm
as opposed to like more of the longer running stuff. But like I really like the team and the dynamic, and I think because the team is really diverse too. So I think that would be like the easiest property to probably adapt. I think right now, if they really wanted to go there.
I mean, the one thing that I go back and forth about is that
Mm.
there's not that much Young Avengers content, like there is, some of the longer running comic books.
Yep.
So you could, Marvel doesn't really have like a YA property yet,
Yeah.
and Young Avengers could fit that mold. They could get a lot of attention from lower that high school age generation,
Yeah.
which
I think that
which
actually. Oh, go ahead.
no, I'm saying, and given that, like we were just saying about Spider-Man, um, give that's a Sony property.
Mhm.
Marvel would probably want its own high school based. Well, you know what? I keep forgetting that they also have Kamala Khan. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and Miss Marvel is definitely a go, and that's definitely high school aged. And they're I haven't figured out whether they're going to incorporate Ms. Marvel into Young Avengers or not. Um,
I
or
can see
what?
a crossover, but I think probably separate. You know.
I mean, I'm of two minds of it. Obviously, if you're familiar with the Young Avengers comic, you know that they're that's a totally different group of group of kids.
Yeah.
But but if you're just looking at it from a branding standpoint,
Yeah. It's a
if
good move.
if you just want to have like the Young Avengers kids,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
it, then you put her in and you say like this is our Avengers but young people.
Yeah. I
And
think
then
that's like the crossover. A crossover definitely has to happen at some
yeah.
point.
And for that reason, what you could do with the Young Avengers is you could have the solo characters on Disney Plus shows and then have their big adventures be in the movies as Young Avengers movies and get the money that way.
True.
Assuming
So
that assuming that theaters become a thing again.
even if not, you could still like put the movie on the
Yeah.
channel. So that's an option. But
Be-
yeah, I think that's genius too, because you can just use maybe just make more of the event type of like series finales or whatever like that. Just make those movies. I don't know if that's even like a good idea or a possibility, but something they could try.
yeah, that's one of my sort of like big picture dreams to have that happen one day where a television show. I mean, did you ever watch the X-Files back in the day?
I was probably too young for
Okay,
that.
probably. So the X-Files did something one year where it was a TV show and then they did the movie in the summer and then they came back in the fall and the events of the movie affected what happened in the show. They
There you go.
actually they did the continuity. Um, but what I've always wanted something to do is actually have the the movie lead into either the movie lead into the show like a
Hmm.
pilot or
Yep.
the show like the season finale, whatever, be the movie. Either or.
Nice.
And I think Marvel could pull it off because I think they're already used to paying attention to everything and watching everything. You could totally see a situation where they have the whole season of the different Young Avengers shows, and they're like, and now here's the trailer for the Young Avengers movie where you have to see all these storylines get wound up.
Genius. I love it.
So yeah, I mean, here's hoping that these rumors are coming to fruition. Here's hoping that we, get to the other side of the COVID stuff, so that some of these things can come out because
Yep.
2021 is going to be stacked with projects at this point,
Yeah.
and I'd like to be able to see them at the theater if possible.
Yeah. You listen to theaters a little bit sometimes.
Right. So I mean, I guess now's as good time as any to jump into some of the racial draft news. We'll do well, not racial draft news, but racial draft business, as it were.
Mm.
Um, we're season two is 4 weeks away,
Hmm.
so we're setting things up right now. And one of the things that we did last week is that we did our lottery for the number one pick. It was won by the Asian delegation.
Mhm.
But now what we're going to do is in the weeks leading up, we're going to count down from the eighth pick to the second pick, and just for transparency's sake, the M for the multiracial delegation, the N still not for the black delegation, no, for the Native American delegation, the B for the black delegation, the L for the Latinx delegation, the W for the white delegation, the J for the Jewish delegation, and the P for the Polynesian delegation.
Hmm.
This will be the eighth pick. B, the black delegation, will be
Success.
drafting eighth. The hits just keep on coming for the black delegation. But who knows? This it's a new season. It's a new season, new opportunities. You know,
You gotta keep
look,
your hope up, man. The change is coming, bro.
look. Like weren't you guys the eighth pick, the Latinx delegation?
Yeah, we had the last pick of the first round. We were always eighth, like that. So, but we still ended up being
Yeah,
third.
you know wraparound. Like that wraparound is the two back-to-back picks in the
Yeah,
snake draft. You guys got quality. You got Superman and Wolverine.
yeah.
That was the probably the scariest tandem in the first of two picks.
Hmm.
So we're pulling for you, black delegation. We're pulling for you, black delegation.
Yeah.
Also, further racial draft business is that we still have our 5-on-5 challenges. Last week we weren't able to get the scores for week 5 of the challenges, but I was able to get those scores together. So we have week 5 and week 6. I'll go down the list of who faced who just to refresh everybody's memory. Week 5 was the multiracial delegation against the white delegation, the Native American delegation against the Jewish delegation, the Polynesian delegation against the black delegation, and the Asian delegation against the Latinx delegation. In our main event, the Battle of the Titans. And week 6 was the multiracial delegation against the black delegation, the Native American delegation versus the Latinx delegation, the Polynesian delegation against the white delegation, and the Asian delegation against the Jewish delegation. So, without further ado, I will reveal what each delegation scored. In week 5, the multiracial delegation scored a grand total of 25 points. Player by player, Wonder Woman scored 22 and Harley Quinn scored 3. Her other picks did not score. The white delegation, on the other hand, scored 51 points.
Wow.
That's right. Total of 10 points for Mr. Fantastic, 14 points for The Flash, 17 points for Batgirl, and 8 points for Superboy. So
Busy
50,
week.
yeah. So 51 to 25. That was definitely an upset in my book. The Native American delegation against the Jewish delegation. The Native American delegation scored 5 points, led by. Wait, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I need to apologize to the audience. That's 49 points, not 51 for the white delegation. 49 points.
Still a lot.
Still a lot.
They still won.
Yeah. Forgot. Did some quirky things with the spreadsheet. Had to make sure. Got it. All right. So the Native American delegation scored a grand total of 2 points. 2 points. And the Jewish delegation scored a grand total of 13 points. 5 points. No, sorry, 3 points for Apocalypse, 10 points for Supergirl. So there were 13 points. So the winner in that matchup,
Yep.
2-13, is the Jewish delegation.
Congratulations to them.
Still no Spider-Man for the native.
What'd you say? Still no
Still no
Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Still no Spider-Man. Their hatred of Spider-Man continues. Don't understand.
Put some respect on his name.
Apparently not. Hopefully Spider-Man ends up in better hands in the next season by the hands of people who really like Oh, okay. All right, so the next, let me make sure I have my spreadsheet set up properly. All right. So the next matchup, the Black delegation against the Polynesian delegation.
Mm.
The results may surprise you.
Will they?
The Polynesian delegation put up 0 points. Their Amadeus Cho, America Chavez, Sunspot, Kitty Pryde, and Daredevil. Grand total of 0 points. The Black delegation, 31 points. 31 points.
Wow.
Not bad.
Led by the Joker. No, I'm sorry. Led by Jason Todd, of course.
Yeah. Right.
Jason Todd scored a grand total of 14 points. The Joker scored 10 points. And Doom scored 7 points. So their heavy hitters showed up to play. And they're among the highest scoring teams this week.
Very nice.
Very nice for the Black delegation. 0-31.
Yeah.
And now our main event.
Oh God.
The Asian delegation, led by, you know who.
Yeah.
Led
We don't need
by,
to say his name.
he scored 26 points.
Mm.
But the team scored 32.
All right.
32 points for the Asian delegation. Nightwing were the other 6 points. So the Bat family did all the scoring for the Asian delegation.
Holding it down as usual.
Latinx delegation, though, 58 points.
Fuck yeah. Sorry.
Led by 18 points for Doctor Strange. Also, led by 25 points for Superman.
That's what's up.
Yeah, 25 points for Superman, 18 points for Doctor Strange, 12 points for Sue Storm, and 3 points for Wolverine.
Nice.
58 points, the highest scoring team of the week. That puts you in I think the first place position right now.
Yeah, we're still undefeated.
Oh yeah, you guys were undefeated.
Insert applause.
Nice. The domination continues. This is the kind of domination I was expecting when you guys had your full draft. 58-31. All right, so that was week 5. So that was last week's celebration, and now for this week's celebration. The matchups again: multiracial versus black, Native American versus Latinx, Polynesian versus white, and Asian versus Jewish.
Yeah.
All right. The multiracial delegation, 39 points, led by Black Widow, who scored 13 points, and Wonder Woman, who scored 12 points. They also got 8 points from Captain America and 6 points from Harley Quinn. The black delegation, on the other hand, 0 points.
Sounds about right, man.
They last week they were so strong, but this week they used it up. 39-0.
They used all of Domino's luck.
I think Domino used all of her luck. But the Native American delegation, yet again, no Spider-Man. 4 points.
Yeah.
All 4 points by the Hulk.
Yeah.
The Latinx delegation, though, 48 points.
Yeah. Still undefeated.
48 points, led by very balanced attack. 17 points for Wolverine, 7 points for for John Constantine, 1 point for Black Panther. Wakanda Gate continues. 15 points for Miles Morales, 8 points for Thor.
Yeah.
48 points.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that one.
I mean, why would you be? The next matchup is a Polynesian delegation against the white delegation. And this time I'm serious. The results may surprise you. The Polynesian delegation scored 5 points.
Okay.
The white delegation scored 6 points.
Just by 1.
And here's the worst part.
Okay.
Namor. Remember Namor?
Yeah.
He actually showed up this week and put up 10 points. If they would have picked Namor, they could have won.
It's a shame.
I know. So by a score of 6-5, the white delegation comes out on top. And in our main event, the Asian delegation against the Jewish delegation, Batman and Friends against. So, the Asian delegation, led by 22 points from Batman, scored 31 points. The Jewish delegation, 18 points. They got 5 points from Apocalypse, 2 points from Moon Knight, 6 points from Zatanna, and 5 points from Starfire. Another big win for Batman.
Yeah.
Batman can't lose.
Lost to us.
I know. Talk your shit. Oh, man.
Just eating my candy over here. Enjoying the sweet, sweet taste of victory.
That's right.
I know.
So here we go. I think mathematically you guys will, even if you don't stay undefeated, you're gonna win. Because next week the Latinx delegation against the multiracial delegation in the grudge match. The Native American delegation against the black delegation. Will they both score 0 points? The Polynesian delegation against the Jewish delegation, and the Asian delegation against the white delegation. That's next week's Showdowns. Since you're here, though, I have to ask.
Yep.
Give me a second. I have to ask, who will your characters be?
All right. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Wolverine,
Wolverine,
Miles Morales,
Miles Morales,
Superman,
Superman.
and just because we need a fifth, because like I think it's about it, the guaranteed ones anyway. I'll just put Kyle Rayner in there. Because there's one issue of Death Metal, and he's been showing up quite a bit in that. So he might just be in the background, but that's
You're
I've
like,
looked at the issues that Kia's got coming up, and I'm not worried about that much.
woo! If only Kia
Shots
were here
fired.
to. If only if Kia were here to defend herself. But
Shots fired.
exactly. Hopefully, I will hear. Hopefully, I will hear some good lineups from the other delegations because they're getting mopped by the Latinx delegation.
Yeah,
Feels good, right?
yeah, it
Feels
pays
good
to
to
be
be
prepared.
on top of the head-to-heads.
Yep.
My man just kicking back and enjoying it right now.
I know. That's how I expected him to be all year, But Kia came out of nowhere to dominate the season.
Yeah.
He's not worried. He doesn't look worried though.
I mean, this is his opportunity for revenge in the 5-character head-to-head against Kia and shut her up for good. I mean, it's probably not possible to shut Kia up, but
No.
but at least you'll have some bragging rights.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as other racial draft news, I mean, I know that there was a outstanding challenge made by the Native American delegation. The Punisher
Mhm.
challenged the Black delegation's Jason Todd. Um, Still, the details of that head-to-head are soon to come, so we'll see how it plays out. But hit us up on social media at Racial Draft Pod on Twitter or racial.draft on Instagram and let us know your thoughts about the challenge as it takes shape. A lot of people are saying, a lot of people are saying, a lot of people are saying that Jason Todd doesn't have a chance. Um, it would be a shame though, but you never know. You never know. Jason Todd's got, he's been trained by the League of Assassins, and you know, Punisher may have lost a step. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll see what um, Joaquin and the excuse me, other people from the Native American delegation have in store as far as how and why
Mhm.
he will defeat Jason Todd. But yeah, as far as challenges, do you have any challenges that you'd like to make? Or are you good character challenges?
Nah, I'm good for right now.
Okay, well,
He's plotting though. He can see he's coming up with something.
do you have any ideas from the artist perspective? Like, what would you visualize for a Punisher versus Jason Todd battle scene?
Definitely gotta have some rain. Probably maybe on a rooftop, something like that. Like there's a lot you could do with Punisher versus Jason Todd. And lots of blood, definitely. Something very gory.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that mask is getting chipped for sure. The red hood is getting chipped with bullets.
For
You
sure.
know,
I think actually Punisher would take the most amount of damage actually in the fight, like between them. That doesn't mean he would win or like Jason would win, but I think visually, I think it would be pretty cool to have Punisher a lot more battle damage.
yeah, I think that especially if we imagine a situation where the Punisher is hunting Jason Todd, I think he might get the drop. I think he might get the drop on Frank.
Yeah,
Frank
for sure.
Frank could underestimate him, and because we're still dealing with someone who's trained by Batman.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
He's got some of that residual Batman privilege.
That privilege. Yeah,
Exactly.
it goes through the bloodline.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, that's all I mean, I don't have a lot this week. We had our news segment. We just kind of talked a little bit about
Mhm.
stuff that in the nerd world. we went through the head-to-heads, but I can't think of anything unless you guys want to just throw out something for that you'd like to see in season 2.
That's Kia not doing so well.
Well, remember, Kia said she's going to take a step back as far as the multiracial delegation, since we have some. That is one thing I'd like to talk about. We're gonna try to get as much new blood as possible. So if you're a listener and you represent a delegation, hit us up. Say what's up, and we're always open to have new people on the show, and we'll give you an opportunity to tell us what you'd like to see happen as far as draft picks in your respective delegation. And
tryout season.
yeah, I mean, I think I had mentioned before, but I'll mention it again. The captain title is kind of going away. It's more going to be representative. So it's less of a personal ownership stake.
Right.
You can still trash talk, but just remember that it's it's good for the election season too. You're a servant of your delegation. They don't serve.
Exactly.
All right.
You're just representing the will of the people. So that's why I do hope that in the coming season that our fans get more vocal and they speak out. But listen, the black delegation, you've got some explaining to do and you have to be accountable. You have to be accountable to the people in the next season. And there's going to be a lot of people with voices that need to be heard.
This is
So
true.
I don't know about a first round domino anymore. I think, but so that's one change. I expect to hear more voices from fans. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed about the possibility of adding additional delegations this year. If you're not one of the 8 delegations that we talked about, the multiracial, Native American, Polynesian, Asian, Jewish, white, black, and Latinx, or if you're a subgroup and you'd like to have your group carved out, get its own delegation, come on or hit me up, my MTF III on Twitter or Racial Draft Pod. Uh, you know, vouch for why your group, should have its own delegation. I'm willing to hear it out. Some
Kind
of
of
the
surprised. Does the Jewish delegation kind of does it kind of compromise like a Middle Eastern delegation, or would there be a possibility to have like separate delegations within like that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like obviously Israeli would fall under the Jewish delegation, but if you're Arab or Persian or another Middle Eastern group, at this point it's kind of murky. I would
Mm-hmm.
suppose you'd fall more under the Asian delegation, theoretically. But that's one example of a delegation that I'd love to have um, a representative for, someone who would be willing to advocate for those people.
Gotcha. I know it was a random question I threw out,
No, no,
but
no. I mean, it's one of the things that I've been grappling with ever since I came up with the idea of the racial draft. Trying to give every group representation, but obviously that has to come from the community. So if you're in the community, if you're a listener, and you feel like you're willing to step up, you're ready to draft on behalf of your delegation, let us know.
absolutely.
Yeah, you've got about a month. So
Yeah.
and we'll figure out the draft order. We'll figure out how to accommodate you. You can't be number 1 or number 8. So, but we'll figure the rest out. But thanks for joining me this week, guys. It's a little bit more of an abbreviated show, but I'm glad you guys came through.
Absolutely.
Next week, hopefully Kia will be back with her usual brand of craziness and
I
we'll
hope
have
so too.
a lot more nerd news to pour over. But until
Yep.
next time,
Yeah.
all things are possible.